All right, welcome everybody to Live on KEXP. Very, very exciting day. My name is Troy Nelson from 90.3 FM KEXP in Seattle, 92.7 in San Francisco, and we stream 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at KEXP.org. And these live performances are made possible by people like you who support KEXP, so thank you. Well, as I said, very excited is actually an understatement because we are here in the KEXP live room with the legendary Helmet. And Helmet, if you're all ready, let's do this. You're listening to Helmet, live on KEXP. You're listening to Helmet, live on KEXP. Helmet, sounding as vital as ever here in the KEXP live room, out there on tour celebrating the 30-year anniversary of the incredible timeless album Betty. And wow, playing a song right there from Betty, Milquetoast. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us back. It's been a long time.
It has been a long time. And I think I read somewhere, wasn't Milquetoast, was that the only song that Butch Vig worked on from Betty?
Yes. Yeah.
Just one song. You got it.
Yeah. Well, we did another song with him for the Led Zeppelin tribute and commune with our dear friend David Yao from Jesus Lizard. So
cool.
We did it both at the Power Station. Custard Pie, the Zepp song.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Because when you worked with him, that was at the height of Butch Vig.
He was going to produce the album, and he said, "Well, I have this project I'm working on, and we just want to finish this album, and then probably we might play a couple of shows, and then that's kind of it, and then I'll be able to dive into the album." He said, "I don't think it's going to do anything," and it's like a couple of million albums later, he said, "Hey, Paige, I'm really sorry. This band's blowing up, so we're going on the road." And we ended up with. Working with a guy named T-Ray, who had done remixes of, I think, Just Another Victim for the Judgment Night soundtrack.
With House of Pain.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Fantastic once again. And here we are with Helmet, a band that has been incredibly important to me in my life since I was 16 years old. And you are also one of the few bands in the history of music to be credited by many, including myself, to have invented a whole new genre of music. And I can hear your influence. It's so gigantic, and I continue to hear it in other music to this day. And Paige Hamilton, from Medford, Oregon, to touring the world over and landing right here in the KEXP live room. So once again, I want to welcome you and your band to
Thanks so much.
KEXP.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yes, Medford, Oregon. Like, what was that like growing up in a small town in Oregon?
It was, I think it was a little cooler than it is now. We just had a day off there yesterday, and we did a Walmart run, and it was a little interesting. Yeah. It's like,
well, Scott Thurston of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers is from Medford.
No,
Oregon.
what? Seriously? Oh, cool.
Yeah, and he used to play with the Stooges, too.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, was there a music scene at all, music and art scene growing up?
Yeah, we have in Jacksonville, which is an adjoining town. It's a historical, as my ex used to say, a hysterical landmine town. A really cool little, gold rush town, and they have a festival, a classical festival called the Brit Festival. It's 100-year-old or older now. Classical festival. I had the privilege of playing with the orchestra a couple of times as a soloist for the Mothership piece by Mason Bates, and I did a Bernstein concert one night. It was just incredible. The dream come true for me. So I grew up going to those shows, going to those concerts. I saw, Ralph Towner. I saw Kenny Burrell. Can't even think. So many amazing musicians. Frank Foster. A lot of jazz stuff. They started having rock and pop stuff later. Then in another town that's nearby, Ashland, they have the Shakespeare Festival.
That's right.
It's a really old festival, and that was great. And we used to as teenagers, take a little pot and go lay in the park and listen to Shakespeare.
Nice.
So, Lithia Park was really cool.
Yeah.
It's a great place to grow up.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
I think they still do that in Ashland?
Yep,
I feel like that's
absolutely.
continuing.
Yeah. And Brit Festival as well is still going strong.
Cool.
So Teddy Abrams is the musical director. He's phenomenal.
Awesome. So growing up in this small town in Oregon, let's go all the way back when you were very young. Of course, you liked bands when you were very young like America and the Eagles, and then eventually graduated to Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, like a lot of us. But unlike a lot of us young rockers, you evolved into loving jazz and, of course, getting your master's degree in jazz guitar at the Manhattan School of Music, transcribing Wes Montgomery and Wayne Shorter, Clifford Brown and Coltrane, and also loving artists like Charlie Parker and Thelonious Monk. When one hears Helmet for the first time, they might not hear any of that right away. They probably hear elements of Black Sabbath or Zeppelin or just some hard-hitting guitar riffs. But can you tell us how important the composer Glenn Branca has been in your musical life?
Yeah, Glenn was phenomenal. The same time I auditioned for Band of Susans in 1988, shortly thereafter I auditioned for Glenn's orchestra and ended up getting to play on Symphony No. 6. The recording is really, really an amazing piece. I also later we worked on Symphony 8 when we did the World's Fair in Spain in Seville. Sevilla, whatever. Then I got to play Symphony 13 at the Disney Hall in L.A., this 100 electric guitar piece, where I also got to meet Mike Watt, who was such a cool cat. He was in the bass section. And Glenn, I think a lot of it, his old scores were not, they weren't musical notation. Later, he started using normal musical notation on 13. But he would write numbers like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 with accents over 1. And the drummer would be playing straight 4, and we would be playing, bum 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 bum, it's a bum 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 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 5 1 2. So my left hand's in 4, my right hand's in 5 right now, and those rhythms just kind of got ingrained in my head. And I was the nerd on the subway, always trying to tap them out: 3 against 4, 5 against 4, 7 against 4, and I never really realized it till later. And another influence, I think, on the helmet rhythm kind of approach was Zepp, John Bonham and Kashmir, that kind of feel where he's holding it down and the band's playing in a different time signature. And I just always loved the way that felt. So Glenn's another, I think, influence. We were doing Bang on a Can in New York, playing on Symphony 6. And I stepped out just for a second to use the restroom, and I snuck up to the balcony to hear the band rehearsing. And all those kind of it wouldn't be tertials, but upper harmonics that are happening, because the guitars were tuned to all E and B. And we were playing, normal triad shapes on the guitar. This would be a major triad shape. But if all the strings are the same note, you're going to get a chromatic chord. So these beautiful, dense harmonies, and he liked it really clean and really bright, the sound. So you could hear all this upper stuff, and that really stuck with me. And I love a lot of people. When we started out, we were at CB's, we were louder than every band, and people like, why do you play so loud? I go, well, that's how you achieve some of those upper harmonic, things that happen. Some of our chords don't contain thirds, like the song we just did, Milquetoast. There's an F major 7 voicing, a helmet voicing, unique to us, and there's no third in there. So it creates these open intervals that all that other information can happen. So a lot of people miss that, but that's okay.
I always called it, like growing up and starting to learn guitar and listening to Helmet, I felt like something was dissonant, but is that not the correct term for what it is, some of those chords? Sure,
yeah. I mean, I'll use, one of my favorite chords is a major 7 sharp 11 with a 13, and all it is just, it looks like this, and I have an open E string, so that gives you the 13 or the 6, same note. And it's, it would be considered dissonant in pop music, Mm-hmm. When I years ago, I played and sang on a Linkin Park song, and Mike Shinoda was like, "What are those chords you're doing?" So they were playing kind of straight power chords, and I was just embellishing them. I was going kind of above, root 5,
right,
and just adding notes that are still diatonic, meaning in the key, mm-hmm. but avoiding the third.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, you're learning all this and in school, and you're learning jazz guitar, and you finish school in 1987, and you start auditioning for like cover bands around Queens and the East Village. And yes, you also, I was looking at my record collection in preparation for this interview, and I realized I have so many, not only Helmet albums, but albums that are related to Helmet. I could do a whole hour-long interview with all my vinyl collection, but I'm not going to completely Nardwuar out on you. But I did bring a couple records that I wanted to show you, and if you'd be so kind to elaborate. So you're auditioning for these cover bands in Queens, and yes, you ended up in this band, and I want you to tell us what your life was like when, yes, I do have the Band of Susans record.
Cool.
And so what was your time like and your life like in this period?
I've got some sweet hair there on the back, too, if you notice the cover. I think I'm covering my face up.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that was 1988, right?
Yep, 1980. Yep, 88, 89.
Yeah, I mean that was a great experience. I learned so much from Robert Poss, is the leader of the band, guitarist and lead singer. Susan also later started singing more and writing more.
Okay.
But he turned me on to bands like, Gang of Four. We did a cover of Essence Rare, for example. And
Cool.
later Helmet did a cover, a Gang of Four cover when Andy was still alive, which was a really fun. And I think just kind of it got me back into rock. I'd kind of, as amazing as a lot of those 80 bands were musically, a lot of it didn't float my boat. My friends are like, in high school, like, what, like Journey, man? And I was just like, yeah, it just wasn't my thing, And I discovered Charlie Parker, and it was kind of all over. So
Yeah.
I missed I missed all this sort of, I guess it would be late 70s, early 80s stuff like Killing Joke, Wire, Gang of Four, and everything. And I just got to discover all that stuff through
Right.
Band of Susans. And they had me playing also a guitar. I think it was a 5-string guitar, and it might have been tuned to E's and B's or all E's or B's. I don't remember exactly. But he also, I ended up singing, doubling his lead vocal on a song. It's called It's Locked Away. It's on the album before Love Agenda, I believe. And that was really fun. I was like, wow, this is fun to play and sing.
Right.
So, and then I said, I'm going to write my own songs. And so I brought a bunch of songs in. They were Geisha to Go, Shirley MacLaine, Rumble, and I hadn't written Born Annoying yet, I don't think. But I brought these songs into to Robert and said, hey, I'd love to get a song on the album. And he just said, these are really cool. They're just not right for our band. Right. So I said, all right, I'm forming my own band. So.
Yeah. And I feel like Band of Susans was almost the gateway drug that led to Helmet, which you did form very soon after that record. And in 1989, you release your very, very first single under the name Helmet for the song Born Annoying. And when you were here in 2000, actually, I have the exact date. It was October of 2004. And you were here for the Size Matters tour. And I worked at Easy Street Records here in Seattle at the time I worked there. And my boss was like, hey, do you want to meet Helmet? Do you want to meet Paige Hamilton? I'm like, absolutely. So he somehow got me a little backstage meet and greet. And I met you back then. And I came up to you with this record that I've had in my collection for a long time. You were kind enough to sign it, but I have the original single. Born Annoying on Amphetamine Reptile from 1989. And when I pulled this out, you said to me, you go, how did you find that? Yeah. And you were like, I don't even have one of those. Yes. So I'm curious if you now have one of these in your possession.
Somewhere, yeah. My records, when I left, after September 11th, I left New York and moved to Los Angeles. And I was afraid to transport my records, so I have 1,000 records still in New York. My poor buddy Luke and another friend Dan have them split, 500 at each house, and it's in that collection over there. So
okay, good.
One of these days I'll ship them out.
Well, and then Born Annoying came out on this Tokyo Sessions single, which also has a Killing Joke cover, which you had
cool.
mentioned.
Is that Primitive, I believe? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. I just wanted to share those with you. And then, of course, you release your full-length Strap It On, the monumental album Meantime in 1992. And then, of course, a couple years later, the album that you released that you're out there celebrating right now is Betty. So how's the reception been so far on the 30-year anniversary of Betty?
Yeah, we're kind of... baffled by the fact that I got a lot of crap when the album came out for the cover and the Jimmy Iovine said, "Well, I kind of thought there'd be another unsung on there," and I'm like, "Well, I wrote that already. Why would I write it again?" And here it is. We did a 20th anniversary tour. We're doing a 30th anniversary tour. So it's been really great. I mean, really fun. We did Europe already. We're like in 25% of the way into the U.S. tour, and then we head to South America after this. So
cool. Yeah, well, the show tonight sold out. Obviously, people still really loving that album.
Yeah, it's cool. It's been selling out pretty much every night. So
I'm surprised that you got any crap for the cover art, because even me as a teenager when Betty came out, I thought it was artistic, that it was this very beautiful, like very almost safe America 1960s, 70s picture of this lady, and then the music is what it is. And I thought the juxtaposition of that was brilliant. So
cool. That's cool. That's when I was writing the album, I had Aladdin Sane by Bowie by my bed, and I'd open it up and read lyrics and stuff, and I just got this image in my head of a woman in an English garden. There was supposed to be a pond or whatever, and she was sitting there with a basket of flowers, and a friend of mine was at university in Australia and said, "Oh, they used it in our art class as an example of subversive art." So I'm like, "Oh, good." So another influence on the cover was Led Zeppelin Presence.
Oh yeah.
So I just love that era of American photography and the fashion. We didn't have the object as like they had, so I thought the basket of flowers was enough.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, once again, Paige and the band, thank you so much for all the decades of fantastic music. Thank you for fulfilling my childhood during all the times I was learning how to play guitar and skateboarding. Helmet was just perfect for my musical brain, so thank you so much.
That's great. I want to thank all these guys. This guy, Dave Case from Patch Hog over there, Long Island on the bass. He's been nailing it down with this for a long time already. I don't know how many years, Dave. 15, yeah. And then nice. Danny Beeman comes from Minneapolis over here. He's been in the band like a year or two longer than Dave. 17 years. Kyle over here is from the beautiful Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. Kyle Stevenson. He's the longest member of Helmet ever, aside from myself, obviously. Wow. Yeah. So that I owe a lot to these guys for the fact that we've been able to maintain this because. Yeah. You need really great musicians and like-minded, and they also have sort of grew up hearing Helmet, and so it's been really, really, really fun. We feel really fortunate. So
awesome. Well, it's a fantastic, solid unit, as Helmet has always been. So once again, thank you for taking the time to do it.
Thanks for having us, man. We love you guys. It's
absolutely.
Great.
Well, we love you.
Great.
Once again, you've been listening to Helmet live on KEXP. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Discover new music at listener-powered KEXP.org.